What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of JaAR. JaAR, for those of you that may be new, stands for Joe
and Amy
Review. This is our weekly show where we review the Magic stories. And this week we are continuing with our review of the individual chapters for The Gathering Storm by Django Wexler. And this week specifically we are reviewing chapter 15. My quick review at the top of this one was I really liked this one. This was another... There was some action. It wasn't super action heavy, but the stories and there were like two big moments towards the end that I really enjoyed. But the kind of the intrigue, if you will, of this one was very, very good, and I really enjoyed it. What about you? What were your thoughts?
I liked the action, I liked the intrigue, that's a good word. I liked the pacing.
Mm-hmm.
It was, it had a good flow. It was fast. It was never boring. Yeah. It was good.
Yeah,
It was
I agree.
very good.
Yeah.
I arguably, this was my favorite one, I think.
Of all of them?
Yeah.
Interesting. I can see why you would say that. I don't know that I'm as confident as you to say it was my favorite, but it was definitely up there. Definitely top 5, top 3. It was very good. It was a very good chapter. So yeah, we then clearly would highly recommend that you go and read this one if you have not yet. And then, you know, we would love for you to then come back here and watch our review, because that's kind of what we would like for all of you to do. But onto the full review itself. There was no Veraska this time around, but there was Tomek and Ral and Kaya were like the main focuses of this one. Mostly Tomek and Kaya, I feel. No, I guess Ral was in the first part. But we have Ral we have all of them really returning from their siege on the Golgari, finding out that they, not only did they succeed, but now they have, people installing this machine down in Golgari-controlled territory, but they have like law mages putting up barricades to prevent Golgari insurgencies, I guess, if you will, from taking it down or destroying it or anything. So, you know, and it's just more of the same with Ral doing lots more work now and just kind of getting back to being in his office all the time, which is then what leads to Tomek visiting, which is something that has never happened before, according to Ral. And there was kind of an interesting moment between those two then, when Tomek came, where Tomek basically says, listen, they're trying to kill Kaya. I know that she's your friend, and I wanted you to be aware. And Ral's like, what do you want me to do? And Tomek's like, I mean, I'm just letting you know, like, I thought she was your friend. And he's like, she's an ally. And I think Tomek seemed to have gotten a little offended by that.
Yeah.
Because Tomek was like...
Well, Tomek realized how easy it is for Ral to detach himself from things. And it's rather obvious that Tomek is not that way.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing as how they're dating, he was not happy finding that out.
Yeah, I mean, he called him out, too. He was like, oh, so I'm an ally, too? And Ral's like, absolutely not. That's not what I meant. And Tomek's like, it's fine. I'll do it myself. And he just leaves.
Yeah.
And
it's like, oh, okay, apparently I can't depend on you to care about anything but guild business, basically.
Well, and not even that, but I mean, Ral even flat out says, you know, well, Kaya, because Tomek says they're going to kill Kaya and Teyza's going to take over.
Right.
And Ral says, well, will Teyza be on board with what we're doing? And Tomek's like, is that all that you care about? And Ral's like, that's all I can care about. So, yeah, again, Tomek was upset.
Tomek was like, all right, fuck this. I'm outie.
Yeah, he was annoyed. And so he did. He left. And that was then all that we see of Ral until, of course, much, much, much later. But that was Ral in the beginning, right? Tomek gets upset, and then we cut to Kaya. And now we're hearing from Kaya and what's going on with her. And Kaya knows that people are out to get her, to the point where she's not comfortable eating food from the cafeteria, or whatever you want to call it, the mess hall, in the castle itself. So she's like, what do I have to do? Just go to a random restaurant every night forever?
Basically,
to like make sure that I don't get killed by poisoning.
Yeah, and I was like, just do what other nobles used to do. Just have a taster.
Yeah.
Here, man or lady.
Well,
just eat my food first and make sure that you don't die before I eat it.
yeah, and interestingly, I mean, the Kaya that we know in the lead up to this point in the story isn't that kind of a leader. She's not the, you are my servant or you are my subordinate, and so you will do what I say. I am ordering you to taste my food before I eat it. That's just not who Kaya has ever been.
Right.
Since we've known her as, oops, you're the guildmaster.
Right.
And, I mean, we'll talk about the end later. But yeah, she learns. We get to talk about something that Amy would like to talk about. So, first of all, Kaya hears somebody at the door. She hears that it sounds like it's a guard with like a knight's helmet on. So she gets scared and tries to get away by phasing through the floor. Well, turns out, Kaya, when you took this job, you've been using this ability left, right, and center, so everyone knows you can do it. So surprise, surprise, they had people in the room underneath yours waiting for you to do that, and then had the perfect counter to your phasing in mages who were able to kind of negate her ability for a set period of time, it seems. So she finally gets away and is running away now at this point because she can't phase anymore. And Amy's favorite thing ever in a pursuit type situation happens. Do you want me to set it up or you want to just go into it?
Hey, stop! Just quietly follow her, you idiot. I can't stand that. It's like they are walking away slowly. And you say, hey, stop.
You over there not facing me.
Then they know that you're aware of their presence, and they now know that you want to catch them.
Yeah, now you can...
So, amazingly enough, they start running.
Yep, now they can run away from you faster.
I hate it.
It's Amy's favorite.
It's so annoying. It's like no one does that in real life. And if they do, they're freaking stupid.
It reminds me of my tips from earlier on in these chapters, where I just got to continually remind people not to remove foreign objects that were stuck into your body. I got to do that a couple of times, and now Amy gets to be like, hey, don't yell out your presence to someone who you're pursuing, who might not know that you are that close behind them, so that they know to pick up the pace or start to try to duck into corners and hide and stuff. Speaking of ducking into corners and hiding and stuff, she gets to a storeroom and she, again, is starting to get her abilities back, but not really. She said it's like moving through thick mud when she was using her powers, and it sounded like multiple people were coming for her. So she starts like phasing her hand through the door to try to find a latch because the door was locked. And then the door opened on its own. Now, I immediately was like, okay, so somebody was on the other side and opened this door. Who was it? But she didn't seem to notice that or care. She just went in, shut the door, and like waited for the footsteps to pass. And then she heard something moving in the room, and then she pulled out her daggers. It's like, what did you think that you're... What did you think that you're...
Enter with caution and with your daggers out, like figuring that somebody could be in that room too.
Well, not even that somebody could be in that room. The door unlocked. You didn't do it. So clearly someone was in that room. The doors don't just magically open when you phase through them. That's not how your magic works, and you know that because it's been your ability for a very long time. So I didn't fully understand that. She should have known that somebody opened that door for her.
Right.
But yeah, not apparently not.
Well, maybe she did, and she just thought it was a weird enough situation that she wanted to actually do that.
Who knows?
I don't know.
But I also
But
know,
it was dumb.
right? And I also know that after that dumb thing that she did, then there was inside was a man who turned out to be a pawn of Nicol Bolas, and Bolas kind of talks about her. We get a little bit more of a taste of, I mean, it's really just the same thing that we already knew, but he says it again about her people and the sky being broken, and that, you know, he was supposed to be helping her with that, and she didn't like that or whatever. Yeah, that was a thing, because I said to Amy, how would Bolus have known? How would Bolus have known that she would have ended up in that one storeroom? Or did he have mind-controlled puppets in all of the locked rooms? I don't, there's no way that you would have been able to know enough of the layout, or know that she would have phased through the floor, and known that that was their plan to follow her, and that she would have phased through the floor.
There's no way to
and then
know
run.
that she would have wound up in that
Nope.
specific room.
Nope. So again, unless there were random people in all locked rooms all around the tower for Bolus to jump to whenever Kaya walked through the door, that one didn't make a ton of sense to me.
I also said, yeah, are we supposed to believe that Nicole Bolus would actually use the words hidey hole? Really?
Again, it may be just for taunting purposes, but yeah, no, that's fair.
But no,
yeah.
Those words would never leave his lips.
And so then you have the situation where Bolus, again, being the cunning creature that he is, calls her out, and he says, hey, you're the guildmaster of the Orzhov here. This guild has to remind you of your own people. And she goes, yeah, it kind of does. And there's that moment of like softening, right? Because at first she's like, I never should have trusted you, I never should have worked for you. And Bolus is like, they remind you of your people, don't they? And she's like, yeah, they do. And she like pauses there for a minute, which is crazy. Like, even people who know that Bolus is a manipulative jerk are still able to be readily and immediately manipulated by him. It's crazy how good he is at it, and or how bad they are at it. That like, she's like, you're the worst, I can't believe I trusted you. Oh, also, by the way, yes, I totally believe everything that you're saying. It makes perfect sense. Thanks. So then we have something that I wanted to talk about a bit. We have something that we've noticed a lot, and we've noted a lot, is when we read stories about the Orzhov, there are a lot of parallels that can be drawn to modern society, and or just like real world issues and implications kind of throughout history. I said to Amy, and I won't, because God knows we all want to go to bed at some point in our lives, but I said to Amy that I could probably talk for an hour and a half about these, like, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 words. Because Kaya mentions, or Tomek, I guess, mentions to Kaya, I forgot to write down who said it, but the discussion was on the Orzhov in general, and the quote used was, the system, first of all, defends itself. That line is so good and
very poignant.
Yes. It's so good, it's so bad, and it's so...
But it's very real.
Yes, absolutely. But I love it. I love that line. Because you don't want to know why? Because I don't have to sit here and explain to anyone on the other end of this lens, or the other end of this YouTube video, what that sentence means.
Right.
For multiple reasons. The first of which is because everybody should know what that means in one way or another, and yet I'm sure that no two people have the exact same opinion on what that line means.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? Because you can interpret it in many different ways, and maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe there are people who truly do flat out believe the exact same thing, that that's what that line means, but there are definitely multiple interpretations, I think, of how that line could be taken.
Well, and the same person would have multiple.
I agree.
Different interpretations.
Hence why I would be able to talk for so long about it, because there are many ways that could be taken, and I would discuss many of them. But I'm not going to do that, again, because I think just the line itself, letting it sit, letting it stew in your own mind and in the minds of anyone. Like, I love that line, and I think that it standing on its own, it's so smart that line was used in that way. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I liked it a lot too. That's another sort of instance where we're kind of shown and not told.
Yeah.
Because it's not blatant necessarily of just, here are the things that happened, and then this was the conclusion that was made, and then this is how it affected everyone. Like,
Yeah.
that is vague enough and strangely massive enough for it to be good writing, for it to be something for us to analyze in this video.
Mm-hmm.
We started doing JaAR because we liked reading the stories and analyzing them.
Just between the two of us, sitting at home, talking about it.
Which is why we don't do summaries in these videos.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can read a story. We're not going to insult your intelligence by coming up here and saying, this is what happened. If you read the story, you know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But we're saying our opinions and the conclusions that we were able to draw based on what was told to us in the story.
Right, and the parts that we enjoyed or didn't enjoy and why, of course,
but
as well.
It's I struggle because a lot of the more recent stories, for a while now, have been difficult to analyze. They've just been what they were. They weren't necessarily bad stories. They weren't necessarily one note. They were just sort of face value. You read the words that were there. You interpreted the words that were there as they would normally be interpreted. And the end. There was no complexity to it. There was nothing to analyze. And like we said, we can sit here and analyze that one line
7 words.
all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could make 5 videos of just us analyzing that one line.
Mm-hmm.
And because it will take so long to analyze is why specifically we're not doing it.
Well, and again, to a degree, it goes to what Amy said as well. Like, letting your thoughts on it be what they are, and our thoughts on it be what they are. And if that's something that you want to share, check out the
Please
comments.
do.
See if someone
Please
has
do.
see if
Because
someone's done it already.
I would love to hear everyone's interpretations of that line.
Yeah.
And see the differences between them, and just I would love that line to be the focus of a nice long comments conversation. I think that would be incredible.
And don't forget, the line is, the system, first of all, defends itself. I loved it. I thought it was very good. And again, I loved it because of how great and terrible it was at the same time. So I really, I would love to hear that as well. And then we have 2 last parts in this story that, again, I think are worthy of analysis, because they were 2 big moments of... I typically will reference back to pop culture in some way in these videos. A lot of times I will reference it to Marvel Comics because I'm a fan of Marvel Comics. It's something I understand. And because the Wizards story team that exists currently has mentioned that they have attempted to utilize the Marvel model, and they've basically flat out told you that, despite the fact that they're a different medium than that, but at the same time you can't argue with the fact that that genre and that way of storytelling has been very popular recently. And so for companies who are in that arguably similar space, not trying to duplicate that in some way would be foolish, but at the same time you have to then do it correctly. And
exactly, which they didn't do.
No, and again, that's another video that we have already made, but you can reference back to that at some other time, and I'm sure that there's more to make in the future. But
well, you can quickly summarize it by saying that the thing that they should be trying to replicate is the authenticity and the organic ideas and stuff like that, and that's what made those things good. as opposed to just being like, I will now, in a cookie cutter type of way, copy what you have done.
Mm-hmm.
It worked, right? No, it didn't work. Because there's nothing behind it that means anything.
So the reason that I bring up pop culture as a concept here before talking about these last two things is because there are those moments in action-based television shows or in another medium that I enjoy and have worn shirts on this show, wrestling as well. There are those moments where the good guy, in whatever situation you might think of, the good guy is losing. They are getting beat up, they're getting beat down, if you will. And you know that they are so far on the wrong side of, this fight that they're not going to be able to get back up, get back into it. And there's that pull. You feel it. You feel that pulling where you're like, come on, something's got to give. Something is going to happen here to save this person because they're the good guy. They're going to need to be saved in some way. And so, to reference wrestling, that's when some other person's music hits. Right? And they come running down and save them. And the whole crowd goes crazy because this other good guy is here to save the good guy who's, being beaten down, let's say 3-on-1 or something. And so now one guy comes down and saves him and hooray, everybody cheers, right? Or in television shows and cartoons, right? One person is in a losing fight, maybe against multiple opponents, and somebody who
their mentor shows up.
Right. And again, that happened here in a spectacular way. Kaya finally gets to Tomek, who it turns out is the person who had said to her, hey, meet me in the stables, etc.
Meet me in the stables. No.
Jesus. And so she's talking to Tomek, he's about to tell her something, and boom, they are come upon by hundreds of thralls? I don't remember if it was hundreds, but dozens of thralls.
A lot.
Yes.
Any number of those I think would be a lot.
And again, they are heroes, right? They're the good guys. So they're not now just going to sit there and be like, oh my god, we're dead. What are we going to do? Nope. Kaya pulls her daggers. Tomek asks if she has another weapon. She pulls out the stiletto weapon. He grabs it and he's like, well, I guess it's better than nothing. And
a high heel.
And he's sad about the fact that that's all he's got because God knows that they both know they're not going to be able to stop all those thralls.
Nope.
And so the music hits
right.
of the door to the stables exploding, or the wall exploding, and
John Cena! Do, 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 do.
You can tell Amy doesn't watch a lot of current product wrestling.
No, that was a meme.
John Cena, yes, exactly. His name is John Cena! And so in comes Raul and his Scorchbringer friends, the Viashino. They are able to pull those two out. But it's such a moment of like, yes, save them. That's awesome. Like, that's the feeling that I got because it's like, oh my god, that's a lot of thralls. Like, and my feeling of like something was going to happen was one of two things. Either they were going to find a way to work together, they being Kaya and Tomek, were going to find a way to work together to stop all these guys. Maybe like, find make a cool plan of escape or something. Or, in this case, Raul comes to save the day, again, following up from earlier when he screwed up with Tomek, and Tomek was like, fine, I'll just do it myself.
Right.
And that's why Tomek is surprised that Raul shows up, but Raul came to save his man and to make good on, the fact that he screwed up earlier, as I mentioned. And not only that, but
whatever. He's going to be sleeping on the couch.
Well, and in doing so, also flippantly reveals to Kaya that they're together.
Right.
That was a secret that it seems like they've been keeping from many.
Right.
And yet just they openly kiss each other in front of Kaya. And I love it because Kaya, like, it says she, like, tilts her head to the side a little or is confused slightly, but then at the same time is like...
No, it said she lifted an eyebrow.
Oh, okay. And then immediately follows it up with like, okay, but come on, we gotta go. Like, could we like not right now? We have to go this way.
But really, though.
Which is a great response, because it's not, there was a situation that came up a little while ago, at least on MTG Twitter, which I won't get very heavily into, but let's say that somebody incorrectly stated that Ravnica and or other places in the multiverse were not okay with gay relationships. Incorrectly stated. And people who used to write for Wizards in the likes of Kelly Diggs and Allison Lors and others had to come out and basically completely, refute that.
Out and then come out.
Nice.
No.
Had to completely refute that and just say that that was not at all the case. And so this story, again, being the way that it is, Kaya wasn't like, ew, what's this? And get all upset. She was just like, all right, you two, come on. We got things to do. Let's go. Right. Handled it appropriately, because you would do the same thing in any relationship whatsoever, and that's a really great way to handle it.
Almost like it's not weird. Because it's not weird.
Correct. And then you get another moment of shock. We're talking about the intrigue that I mentioned up at the top, but we get Kaya, and I was very surprised, because as she leaves with Tomek and Rahl, right, they leave the stables, and the stables now, I forgot to mention, burned to the ground, which was great. Well, we don't know that they burned to the ground, but they light up, because it's old wood and dry hay, and I liked that a lot. I thought that was funny, because I assumed that that was the plan all along on Rahl's side, that it wasn't like, oops, it caught fire. It was like, burn this thing to the ground and kill all those thralls.
Burn, baby, burn.
Yep, just like that. And so then we get another awesome moment that I really enjoyed, and it was a really great way to end it off. Kaya walks her way back into Orzhova.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sorry, what? You just spent all of that to get out of there. Everybody in there seemingly wants to kill you,
right.
Especially because of the fact that she mentions that she showed up so much later, or the story mentions that she showed up so much later that all of the supplicants weren't there anymore.
Right.
So now all those people who could have been witnesses to your murder are now just gone.
Well, and that was the point.
Yeah.
That was the reason to go back.
Right.
Because
well, we didn't.
Before, they knew exactly where she was. She was there. Now they are not expecting her.
Yeah, but right, and we don't know at the time that we're reading the beginning of this why she was going back, but
right.
We quickly find out, and it is so cool.
Very good.
Because she goes back, basically.
She's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I'm feeling lots of strings.
And it's that, but it's that triumphant moment, right? It's that gotcha, it's that F you to all of you people who are trying to kill me, because, by the way, maybe you forgot. The reason that you're trying to get rid of me is because I own you.
Right.
I own you all. And here's me remembering that I own you all.
Right.
And it goes back to what I was talking about before.
You're gonna treat me like garbage? Guess what?
Yeah. And it goes...
Now I'm gonna treat you like garbage. The garbage that you apparently are.
But it goes back to what I was talking about before. Kaya knew that. And so Kaya was never the guildmaster that she became by the end of this story.
Right.
The guildmaster of, I'm your guildmaster.
Right.
You will do what I say, because if you don't, there are consequences.
Right.
Kaya was quite the opposite. She was a very absentee guildmaster because she didn't want it.
Jace.
That was the word Jace. You scared the piss out of me. But she said Jace. And yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Speaking of heart, I'll get that thing started again, and we can...
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, so yes, Jace as well. But yeah, Kaya was just very much okay, just hurry up, get these contracts out of me, and I'll be out of your hair. And now she's like, okay, fine. You guys want to try to kill me? That's fine. You over there, here's your string. Tug on it a little bit, and the guy's like, and falls to the ground, and all that other. And she does that with everybody in the room. So good. You know what it reminded me of? The end of Wanted, where with Angelina Jolie and Morgan Freeman and James McAvoy, where Morgan Freeman's like, yeah, my name came up, and so did yours, and yours, and yours, and
right.
he's trying to take that moment to take control of everybody as
right.
well. So again, that's what it reminded me of in this particular instance. I'm sure there are other parallels that can be drawn.
I just like thought of her like turning her body into like a harp and then just like
yeah, and just playing them like
plucking them strings.
Yeah, and just playing them like an instrument. And sure enough, I loved that though, because it was like every single person in that room she had a contract on, and then Taysa's like, I don't have a contract. You don't have a contract on me.
Good.
And Kaya's like, you're right, I don't. Arrest her. And it's like, yes, because you have a contract on everyone in that room except for Taysa. So why wouldn't you do that? And again, that's 100% Tomic's help. Because he said, I've been going through the books, right? Tomic knew.
Right.
Tomic knew who was in debt. It was everyone.
Yeah.
So Tomic absolutely knew. And so Tomic had the answers. And I'm curious to see if Taysa will find out that it was Tomic who betrayed her in that way, and how that will come about, or what that will mean.
Who cares?
I care.
Why?
Well, because I'm curious, because eventually Taysa is free again. She's not like dead or locked up in prison forever. So is Tomic gonna keep... I mean, we know this. We read the book, remember? Yeah. But is Tomic going to keep his job? Is he trusted? Is this a secret that he's going to keep from her forever? Or is she going to forgive him and understand?
Well, or he could work for Kaya instead of Taysa.
But again, Kaya's going to leave, is my point. She's the planeswalker. Taysa and Tomic are not the planeswalkers. So that's my only point.
Well, maybe he'll become Real Housewife of Ravnica?
Nice. Very nice.
I don't know where I was going with that. He'll be the trophy wife of Rahl.
Nice. The only other thing I wanted to point out that I really enjoyed, I said to Amy, it looks like Taysa is going to be going back to where we saw her at the beginning of this novel. Mm. Because when we first saw Taysa in this novel, she was locked away. And Tomic was... advising her from her cell, if you will, but she got broken out by Kaya. And now she got put back by Kaya. I just think that's very cool and
Full
really,
circle.
Yeah, interesting parallels being drawn, 14, 15 chapters later. Very, very interesting. I like that a lot. So a really interesting way to close this chapter is by, again, going right back to the beginning of the story, just circling right back around again. So I liked it a lot. Again, I think the story was really good.
Huh, okay.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
No.
If you have thoughts or comments or questions, leave them in the comments. That's what they're for. We would love to hear from you. Tell us anything and everything that is on your mind. If you are unaware, we put out some videos this week. We have videos on our Video Games For All channel. We have videos from us. We did pre-release stuff last week, so if you want to see some pre-release packs get opened, if you want to see us do some Arena pack openings in honor of the launch of MTG Arena officially, and the start of Throne of Eldraine on Arena. We did that on Monday as well. So those videos will probably be popping up at the end here. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, check them out. It would help us out a lot. There'll be subscribe buttons in the middle to check out those channels. I've
got some other Throne of Eldraine things in the works coming up for you guys, so just keep an eye out for that.
It's going to be really awesome. You'll really, I think everyone here watching this will really appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
I think so. I think they will. If Pokemon is anything that interests you, we're only 7 episodes into our playthrough. It's getting lower views than I would have expected. If you know someone who enjoys Pokemon, I think it's a very, very good series. I just think more people need to find out about it. So if you would share that.
Definitely a nostalgia factor for some.
Yes.
Brand new experience for others.
Yes, because it is Pokemon Red if you're unfamiliar. So I highly recommend it.
What year did we figure out that game came out?
96, 97, something like that.
I think.
Something like that.
At one point in the videos, I made
Was somebody?
So someone said something, and I was like, seriously, like your references are from like the mid '90s or something like that. And Joe's like, yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what year this game came out, and I was like, oh god, like my, you know, have you ever had that experience where you're like, oh my god, I'm so old, and you feel like something fall? It's like your heart detaches and you poop it out.
Every like word that sentence continued with, it was less and less relatable.
I'm sure that's true. But okay, that's what happens when I feel old. My heart detaches and I poop it out.
She has cardiac arrest every time she feels old. Oh my god.
Well, that's what happened. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, and I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that up. Hey, if you leave comments or questions or comments or concerns or comments, because I said comments too many times, feel free to do so. Like I said, continue the discussion. Again, especially about our quote of the day. The system, first of all, defends itself. We would love to hear from you on those.
Yes, please. That's a good one.
Yes.
I really want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
And it is another way to join us and your other fellow Vorthos in showing off all of our...
Hashtag Vorthos Pride.
That's right. That's another week in the bag. We have 5 more weeks of this to go. We were reminded today on Twitter that the War of the Spark, the next story, Forsaken, I couldn't remember the name of it, but the War of the Spark Forsaken story comes out in a month. We'll be doing it. Don't you worry. We'll be doing it. We've already pre-ordered it, so we're definitely getting it.
No, we'll see if it's good.
Oh yeah, definitely. But you'll see.
We're doing it.
Yeah. Yep. We will. We'll see you all for that as well. But again, 5 more weeks of this, so definitely stay tuned because this story is great. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, we can critique it here and there, but that's just it, a critique of a good story. So we're able to find little things here and there, but it is not a panning of a bad story by any means. This is very, very good. So, yeah, that's going to be it for this week. Another episode of JaAR. Thank you all so much for watching, especially if you've gotten this far, but any and all moments... I wanted to say
one more thing.
Please.
Please don't get offended that I referred to Tomek as a trophy wife, because that's mean, that's rude. That's not.
I thought you were joking.
I was.
Okay.
But,
so
you know, just in case somebody thinks I wasn't or
that's fair.
Cares.
That's fair. Yeah. And, I mean, hey, if somebody wants to be a trophy wife, let them be a trophy wife.
Right. That's up to them.
To each their own. It's 2019. You do what you want.
You do you guys.
Consenting adults, it's all okay. Seriously. Whatever you want. For now, what a weird... Oh, my God. What a weird way to end the episode.
This is an odd show. This is an odd episode.
It's an odd show. JaAR. It's an odd show.
But at least I don't feel old, because my heart hasn't detached. And
palpitations and Great. Good, because I'm sitting next to you. I don't really want that. Speaking
you don't
of
want
which...
my heart, or you don't want my poop?
From the Geek for All family of channels, I have been Joe.
And I'm Amy.
We are leaving immediately. Thank you all so very much. And as we always say, in whichever video of ours you watch next, we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.